How does this silence feel to you? Let's be honest for a second. Is it a bit strange? Did some of you think, uh-oh, did the mic die? Or did she forget her first line already? We feel this way because most of us have been trained to fear even 10 seconds of nothing. When someone steps onto a red circle, we expect noise right away. A joke, a story, a big idea, talking, performing, filling the air. Somewhere along the way, we quietly decided this is the default. This is what we call normal. But here is the strange part. For some people, this silence is not a mistake. It's a landscape they walk through every day. This stage, these speakers, even my voice right now weren't designed with them in mind. The world that feels so natural to most of us is built like a house with some doors missing. Today, I want to invite you to step back and look at the blueprint of that house we call normal. If we trace the lines carefully, I think we'll notice something uncomfortable. To make life smooth, for the majority, we quietly agreed to leave some of our friends leaving behind. I played the violin for 9 years. Every afternoon, my fingers smelled like metal from the strings, and the skin on my left hand grew hard and shiny from pressing down the notes. I practiced until the same 4 bars were burned into my muscles, and eventually, I became the leader of my school orchestra. Back then, my world was simple. If I played well, people would hear me. That was it. That was the rule. I never even thought to question it. And then my great aunt began to lose her hearing. I kept practicing. I played louder, cleaner, with more passion. At least that's what I told myself. But no matter how perfectly I performed, my sound just stopped before I could reach her. One concert, I remember seeing her in the 3rd row. She was smiling at me, but it was a slow, distant smile. The kind you give when you're trying to enjoy something you can't fully enter. She was sitting inside the same hall as everyone else, but in a different reality. At that moment, the stage I'd loved so much suddenly looked different. It wasn't just a platform anymore. It was a wall. Seen through her eyes, every light, every seat, every note was arranged for ears that work in the most average way. Performers are taught to worry about their posture and intonation. Designers, though, have to ask a different question. Who is this space actually built for? When I asked that question, the answer was painful. In all the careful planning, there was almost no space for my great aunt or for any student who hears the world differently. We built these walls ourselves. Then we gave them a fancy name, the standard. This standard is happening right now in your pocket, inside the phone you probably checked on your way here. The apps on that screen are all chasing one thing, the average. Think about the last few things you saw on your feed today. The same style of faces, the same kind of bodies, the same sounds were used again and again, that same viral dance you didn't even like that much. It's like a giant digital playground where the rule is simple. Just copy whoever stands in the middle. The more we walk down that one well-lit path, the easier it becomes to lose sight of anyone who walks at a different pace, in a different direction. If you're close to the average, the spotlight finds you without you even asking. If you're not, the world can make you feel like you're the ones doing something wrong. These systems aren't evil villains. They're lazy mirrors. They reflect what's already popular over and over again until your own ideas start to look too strange to say out loud. We end up living in a tiny bright room with no windows, clapping for the same tricks on repeat, while the wilder, truer parts of ourselves are being gently bent to fit a template someone else drew. Behind that glass, there is a quiet architect we call the algorithm. Its job isn't to help you grow, its job is to keep you from leaving. So it keeps you where you're most predictable, scrolling, comparing, and staying small. It doesn't shout, it whispers. Watch this next. Follow this person. Be more like this. On the surface, you're choosing. Underneath, your choices are being gently bent to fit a template someone else drew. I know what it feels like because I've been there too. There is a little invisible scorecard in your head, right? One part of you keeps counting the likes on your posts, comparing your reflection in the mirror with the filtered faces on your screen. On some days, it feels like everyone else got the instruction manual for how to live, and you're the only one who didn't. You start to wonder if something's wrong with you, not the system. But that heavy, restless feeling isn't proof that you're not enough. In a strange way, it's proof that you are too much in the best possible sense. Your thoughts, your questions, your way of loving the world are simply bigger than the small boxes that were handed to you. When your heart keeps bumping against those walls, it hurts. Of course it does. But that pain is also a signal. It's your mind telling you you weren't built for a cage. So the next time the world tries to convince you that you're a mistake for being different, try flipping the question. Maybe you're not the error. Maybe you're the new version that the old system doesn't know how to handle yet. You're not a glitch in the program. You might be the update. This story isn't just about concerts or social media. It plays out in our classrooms every single day. Someone draws an invisible circle. How you should dress, how loudly you should speak, what you should be interested in, and anyone outside that line gets labeled weird. So we start trimming our own edges off. We laugh at jokes we don't find really funny. We nod even when we disagree. We leave our best questions in our notebooks instead of raising our hands. It works for a while, but it's not a very brave way to live. I was called different more than once simply because I didn't walk in the straight line everyone else seemed comfortable with. At the time, it felt like a personal failure. Looking back, I see it differently. All those hours when you felt like you didn't fit in, that was never a crime. It was never your fault. It was a sign that the circle drawn was a bit too small. If our world had been built from the beginning to speak with our hands or to communicate with vibrations and light, then the people we now call different would be the ones at the center. Average is not a natural law. It's just a habit we forgot we made up. So maybe it's time to go draw a better map. The rules written by a careless comment or by a line of computer code aren't sacred. They're just fences. They were put there by people who wanted things to be simple, even if that meant leaving some life out. When someone's words try to shrink you into their idea of normal, remember, that's their map, not yours. You don't have to accept every single line you inherit. When you see a rule that feels unfair, pause for a second and ask, who is this really for? Who gets left out when we follow this? The moment you ask that question, you stop being a passenger of someone else's road. You become a quiet designer of a different world. And so if you ever see someone stepping off the usual path, a classmate trying something new, a friend who refuses to hide who they are, try being the first person to clap for them. Tell them they're not strange for standing out. Tell them they're brave. That small, honest kindness might be the beginning of a different kind of architecture, one we call friendship. The people who changed the world were the ones the world called too much, too loud, or too strange. They refused to squeeze themselves into the tiny box labeled average. You're not a replaceable part in a big machine. You're a whole universe of possibilities, and no box built for comfort can ever fit that. So, find your own voice, even if it's softer than others expect. Keep your light on, even when the room feels dim. When a rule tells you to become smaller just to match everyone else, at least give yourself permission to ask, why? Then little by little, start building your own kind of stage, a place where the doors are wide, the walls can move, and no one has to leave their true self outside. You don't have to wait for permission. You're already allowed to be your own kind of wonderful. Thank you.